cannot buy. Send me a love that you cannot mix. One is the joy that you cannot waste, and the other one price that you cannot fix. This is the peace that you cannot buy. Finding a way where you cannot see. Man with this system, he cannot pray. I need to find relief.
Hey family, welcome back to another episode of Peace of Mind, where we value our health, our body, and our time. And we have Dr.Pittman with us here today. Dr.Pittman is an amazing person. I've been talking to her offline, off the camera, just about her story, and I'm going to give her some time just to introduce yourself and just tell the people a little bit about who you are and your background.
Sure. So hello everyone. My name is Dr. Katrina Pittman, and I love mental wellness. And so a little bit about my background is that I have my terminal degree in counseling psychology. I have a practice, it's called A Paradigm Shift, and I love working with families, individuals, but I also work with corporate and crisis management and executive services.
That is so amazing and it's so exciting, in all honesty, and I can't wait to dive deeper into how it came to be, in all honesty, in your journey, just the overall curation of it, and really just have the opportunity and the experience to learn more about who you are as a person and what you constantly do on a consistent basis as well. So I think that with that being said, I guess my first question is kind of what was your first momentum or your first mindset into getting into this field of study, whether that is psychology or counseling or just the overall branching of realm of who you are?
Yeah, I think it started back in high school, really.
Okay.
Because I really did not know it was a field that existed. As a child, I probably was one that always talked to strangers and people always talked to me.
Okay.
I wasn't very foretelling of other people's business, so I kind of kept it into.
Okay, kept it inside.
And I think in my 11th grade year in high school, one of my professors, it was a sociology class, he was like, "Have you thought about your career?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out." And he just pointed me in the direction of the social fields and psychology and mental health, because he said he'd been observing me. And I get along with all groups, right? I'm the one that eats in the library. I go to the library at lunchtime, but I played soccer. I was a cheerleader all season long, all year long, active but also private, and so it allowed me just a variety of relationships. And I think he saw that in me that I just took for granted.
Wow. And
so then on that journey, growing up, everybody's like, "Oh, you should be a teacher, you should be a teacher." And so when you don't know, it's like, okay.
Yeah. And
I like that, and I like talking, and I guess I was a natural teacher. And so I went in under going to school as a kindergarten para, and then realized school counseling was pulling my heartstring. And so that's where I went and got my master's degree in school counseling, and then from there, wanting to branch to a bigger realm outside of the school.
Yeah.
So I decided to pull more so into community.
Wow.
And individual as far as providing service, because the school is limited on what we can focus on. I still have my school counseling certification, just in case. It allows me another avenue of advocating for students with 504s or special education. So I still hold that and advocate for those, but I love the umbrella to branch out and work in a variety of environments. So along that journey, I've worked in the legal system.
Okay.
And so I'm very comfortable with court. Some of my current things are with court, as well as crisis management and executive services as well. Yeah. And I still hold the spot for the individual one-on-one and family, but I enjoy groups as well. And workshops and trainings. Yeah. But I fish with a big net, but it's the strategic degree that allows me to have an umbrella of opportunities and options so that my wheelhouse can be fed and I can provide services in a variety of ways. services.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that a lot. And can you explain to us like what a 504 is? I think that you mentioned that for people who might not be familiar.
Yeah, so in the school system, on an educational basis, every concern as a school counselor is based on how well a student is doing academically in that setting.
Okay.
And so with that, special education services like a 504, which is a legal document that would advocate for someone having a learning disability or even mental health disabilities like anxiety or ADHD. And so sometimes I've come in and sat in on manifestation meetings to help advocate for those. And I was doing that before I left the school system and currently now.
For those students who might qualify for a 504, and that's what some of those like panels or conversations that you were sitting on to like determine best fit of that magnitude. Okay.
Or accommodations needed.
Okay.
Or services needed.
Yeah. Okay. I like that a lot. And I know that you mentioned and touched on like mental health advocacy and mental health well-being. So I would really love for us to dive deeper on that realm and just like what that looks like. So I guess like my first question to even like scratch the surface is like, what does mental health mean to you and what does that look like for you? Like when you hear mental health or think about mental health, what is that?
Ooh, I love that question. When I think about mental health, I think about the wellness of our mind state, mind, body, and spirit.
Okay.
And the mental health portion is really the way we think and the way we are navigating through life, experiencing it. And I believe mental wellness prevents mental illness.
Okay.
And so
I love that.
anything that's the important part, I think, when we are aware that my mental health is a part of the top things that I should be focused on, just like my nutritional health.
Yeah.
Just like my brain health.
Yeah.
Right? Just like my relationship and social health.
Correct.
My financial health.
All of that.
All of that.
Yeah.
Mental health, and I believe, I strongly believe in our mental wellness because it helps to navigate every other area of our lives. If I'm not in a good mental state financially, I can make decisions that will impact me in that area.
Yes.
It's all because of my mental state. You know, for a quick little, bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The shopaholic type of thing. So that could be I'm stressed or I'm dealing with some things.
Wow.
But I want to go soothe that way.
Wow.
And so we don't understand the connection of mental health and our finances.
And we
mental
keep
health
doing
and our
it.
relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like mental wellness, when we can really tune into that, and that requires self-awareness.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize self-awareness is a life skill.
Yeah.
And it's a daily practice of that life skill.
Yeah.
And so I think it has to start with self-awareness so I know where I am so I can be honest with me.
Yeah.
And then after that, I believe it's definitely mindset.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's really big. And I'm glad that you expounded on that. And there's two big pieces that I kind of wanted to like ask follow-up questions. And I guess like the first one is the shopaholic tendency, because I feel like that's a very real thing. And I don't think that society takes it as severe as it could be in certain tendencies, because it's like, oh, I'm just buying this or I'm just buying that. But if you really like peel off the layers of like why, I think how you say it can discover a lot of things about like some exposed trauma or some exposed like areas of our life. So like when you think about the shopaholic tendency or like why people do that, like what are your thoughts on that specific entity?
Yeah, I definitely began to look at and listen for the reasoning on why and their motives behind it. I participate in Making Money Matter Mondays with the financial coach.
Okay.
And we've decided to collaborate so that we can discuss that place where your money and your mental health meet.
Yeah.
And the reason it came about is because a lot of us we don't realize that there's a stressor that's there.
Yeah.
And this is my release by shopping. But when I'm listening and I'm looking at the time and the reasons why people shop, and especially this coming off this last quarter of the year, the holiday season.
The holiday quarter.
Yes, it brings up a lot of things about personal needs not being met, stress, anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So we go in and we shop and we do these things. And sometimes it can create a kickback that we're not expecting.
Yeah.
Because it could be then after I've had this emotional rush, because shopping makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It's empowering.
Yeah.
Right? I get to choose what I want and reject what I don't want. Where in some other areas that might be a challenge.
Yeah.
And so when I'm shopping, and like this holiday season, have shopped afterwards, there is the drop down. Like any other addiction or any other thing that we haven't dealt with.
Process.
And then there is the regret of the shopping and the frustration with that.
Yeah.
And then even just the consequences of, I spent that money that was allocated to that thing.
Yeah.
And
it can lead into other challenges or stressors, which is the overall complication in the beginning, I suppose.
So I usually will help them identify their pattern.
Yeah.
And insert right in there so that we can pivot. And so that tendency to shop, and it's meeting them where they are. So it may be, okay, shop all you want, but you're only gonna spend a certain amount, or you're only gonna bring in spending cash on.
That way you can have those limitations and those boundaries and those.
And if you're gonna buy online, put it in the basket, and you have to wait 48 hours.
Well, before you actually buy to see if
you really wanted it, or were you trying to soothe that pain?
Something
right
in the
there?
minute. Those are really good, actionable items and opportunities for people to be mindful of. So I love that portion as well. Actually, placing something in addition to to divert it. Wow, cool.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what I love about my role.
Yeah.
I don't take it lightly, and I think
I
need you to have a tool.
Yeah.
You don't have to use it, but at least I want to provide some tools, resources, strategies.
Yeah.
Because, you have instant tools and long-term tools.
Yeah.
But they are very beneficial.
Yeah. Okay, that's amazing. And then a question that spurred out of that was, I know you said, or I know we mentioned and talked about during that last quarter 4, it can bring up a lot of stressors or anxieties. And I know a lot of people talk about seasonal depressions as well. So this is the first time I thought about this, but I wonder if seasonal depression is connected to that Q4, October, November, December, New Year's resolutions, thinking about family time, thinking about things that they had planned and set in January and February, and now coming to that realization that maybe they didn't necessarily meet the quota or the goals or the ideas that they had in the previous year. Just that whole ordeal. So what are your thoughts on seasonal depression connecting to the New Year's and stuff like that?
Oh, very much so. Everything you said is a portion of that.
Okay.
And also, I'm honest about being aware of it's the equinox too. It is the days are darker. They're shorter in the visual. So it's something about just the darkness brings a mental darkness.
Wow.
And so when you're in that, and then most of the time seasonal, because in the winter time people tend to shelter in a little bit more. They're not going out, they're not engaging, they're more so nesting and hibernating.
Yeah.
So there's a level of loneliness that is different.
Yeah.
And then this season, I don't, overlapping the holiday season, because everybody doesn't celebrate holidays.
Right.
But this season with the holidays being in it and everybody's experience of the holidays, whether they're a big family or a small family, whether they celebrate it or not, they still have to walk through every day of this season.
Yeah.
And so, coupled with the things that are already going on in our lives, times.
Wow.
And then this season where the world is telling you should be happy and joyous. And I'm still struggling, dealing with my things.
And that contradictory of those two things is...
And then I think what exacerbates it is when you're in a good mood and I'm not so in a good mood.
Yeah.
You don't want me to be around you.
No.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And so there is a rejection, and then there's a feeling of isolation. You're rejecting me because who wants that around them?
Yeah, on a consistent basis at that too.
Basis. And that person, I do know that there are people that have a benefit from focusing on the negative.
Really?
Yeah, because we don't do anything without benefit. Think about it. Anything you do, you get something.
Some type of benefit, yes. Or people always want some type of benefit from it.
So I do acknowledge that that is out there, but I also recognize that no one really wants to be in pain.
Yeah.
No one really wants to be in pain.
Yeah.
And I may know that I'm showing up in an unsavory way, but I'm also showing up to hopefully shift my mood.
Yeah.
But my mood might be so powerful that you're like, ugh, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
But it's that tango. It's that dance in between when, like, especially if you know the person and they're in a season of negativity.
Yeah.
Hopefully the relationship could be like, hey, I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm here.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it's you calling it out. Hey, do you need time out? Do we need to get you a Happy Meal? Because your mood and your countenance is not in a good space. You want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of us just don't have that opportunity to talk.
Yeah. Wow, a lot of
If I answered the question.
No, you did, and it just always keeps alluding to like another question or like a flow of just like how it's a cobweb of how everything connects and flows together. Because I feel like personally, I've definitely experienced that on both ends. If I'm being 100% honest and transparent, and it allowed me the opportunity to be like conscious and socially aware of like who I am and my energy and how I navigate like certain spaces and places as well. So I guess that. Sorry. I guess that that makes me wonder and brings the point of friendships and relationships now when it comes to the connectivity of people and just like, you know, being around people in a space where one might be negative, one person might be going through a challenging season and another person might be going through a positive season, and somebody's like, oh, well, you're not supporting me as the friend that I want and need. And in all honesty, it's just like, again, mental health advocacy and well-being is very near and dear to my heart, but I feel like I've experienced it on like both sides and on both ends one time too. But I even have friends now who are going through like hard times and challenges as well, and I tried to take a more upfront role in the beginning in terms of like just being an active listener or even asking like, hey, how can I support you right now? And then I felt a little daunted or a little like just a little defeated in like what I thought my role was like as a friend or as a supporter. And then I came to the conclusion that I might not be able to support or provide the tools that they necessarily need right now. And I feel like I'm losing a lot of my energy on by trying to be the superhero.
Ooh, and this is okay. So let's not forget some of these. There's a need, right? I love what I do.
Yeah.
And there is a need for a therapist like me. We are the ones that choose to listen. We are the ones that take on those things. However, you should not always have to pay a therapist. You should be able to have friends and loved ones that can be there, encouraging you, supporting you. But there is a balance, the absorption, right? A listening ear and support can be just, I'm with you, I'm here with you, but I don't know what to say. I don't know really what to do, but you're not by yourself right here.
Yeah.
And together we can brainstorm some resources.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Or it could be more of a relationship where you are a listening ear. And if you are, like you said, and that feeling of sometimes it's daunting or you didn't feel like you were providing the service you wanted to, right? You showing up, you being there, 100% silent. Oh, that's support. Your presence is support.
Yeah.
And if you can't physically be there in this digital world, it's calling and say, hey, I just want to hear you breathe.
Wow.
Hey, I just want to hear you breathe.
Something as little as simple as that can go a long way and be as impactful.
And I don't negate the power of technology, doing it through a text, but it is levels of disconnect.
Yeah.
When we do not directly have active live interactions.
Yeah.
When you rather text me as opposed to call me.
Yeah.
Right? Those diminish the intimacy of the relationships. And so whereas, again, that's where my role does come into play. But for both me and for any friend or family member who loves that person and they want to listen, there has to be a balance of absorption. You can listen and listen actively and engage, but only you know your true meter in the middle. And so when it becomes too heavy, that means that you are absorbing it. And so then you need to take measures to say, okay, we need to get you the right person.
Right.
Because it's weighing on me now.
Right.
I want you to help me. I want to lean on you, but not for 10 miles.
Right.
Just a little.
Right, exactly. Or my gas tank might not have 10 miles in it.
Absolutely. And
at all the time.
and your friends, right?
Yeah.
We meet people and we have relationships that have different dynamics. And so whether you may be a great friend and you valued in my life, but also I know emotionally that area.
Right.
You've announced it to me.
Yeah.
Or I've observed it.
Yeah.
And we're down and we're good for whatever, but if I'm emotionally in that space, I probably wouldn't come to you for that.
Right.
Right? And that's us knowing too, which goes back to having a variety of healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Healthy relationships.
To knowing who you can go to for which area of your life.
We live in a world of, right now there's a lot of transactional mindset, and this is my truth and that's your truth. But it can water down conversation on connection, on wholeness. Like, I don't want us to miss the mark. We're human having an experience navigating through this, and relationships, dialogue, communication is important. I need to hear and see different perspectives, not just hold to my perspective and push everything out that doesn't agree with me or my truth.
Yeah.
And that's another space where the space of therapy comes in. It allows, therapy is transformative.
Yeah, I agree completely.
It allows you to take different perspectives and have shifts.
Do you believe that everyone should go to therapy and or counseling?
I'm biased.
Okay.
I believe it's worth experiencing for everyone. However, I believe it should be a tool in the toolbox. And you never know what someone needs, but if you're that person and you don't feel like you have a listening ear, if you don't feel that the people that are listening have anything that is supporting the need in that area, you need to go outside the group. Go to, so whether it be a therapist, unbiased, right? Or some other type of helping profession. We're not meant to do this alone.
Right.
And so I do think it's something.
Right.
And then sometimes we have blind spots.
Yeah.
And we don't know that we could use a little outside therapeutic perspective.
Yeah.
Like hands down, we come with knowledge that is why it's our skill base, right? There's evidence-based practices, research-based practices that show improvement. And if you do these things, it will show benefit. And some, for those who are struggling or can't get a breakthrough, come because it might just be a shift in perspective.
Right. Why do you feel like, and I know we talked about this a little bit off camera, but like, why do you feel like people are not willing to come to therapy or try therapy? And let me shave down my question, because when I say people, I don't mean everybody, but I guess I'm talking about like that stigma or that, or even a better question. What do you believe to be the stigmas, the negative stigmas of therapy? And how do we counteract that?
Make sure I answer about how we counteract part.
Yeah, what do you believe to be the stigmas of therapy? And what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, I believe we have this reputation that we think we have to have of we have it together, that we know what to do.
Yeah.
And the thing with therapy means that you have to acknowledge that you need help. Mm-hmm. And for some, that's a weakness. They perceive it as a weakness, and so they won't approach therapy because they don't want to be seen as weak or crazy, or culturally there's a whole lot of reasons on why people will not get outside help.
Yeah.
And I think a part of that delays the healing process. Therapy may not have been an option for a lot of people, but it's an option now. And the refusal of exploring it, and it's really just a conversation with someone who has some tools and strategies.
Yeah.
The risk of not exploring that means that you'll be stuck or arrested or not in a natural flow, the natural flow that you want.
Right.
You won't be in your natural rhythm.
Right.
Because there will be things that are creating hindrances.
Right. Risks and shifts along the way. And it's funny that you bring up that cultural piece and standpoint as well, because I think that growing up, I've always been exposed to like friends and like relationships of people outside of different cultures and areas, and growing up in different areas, whether that is like African or whether that is Caribbean or Trinidadian, and I'm noticing an unofficial commonality that people or that cultures don't believe in therapy or sharing personal information about themselves or their family, or like how you said, the acknowledgement of like, in general, how it could come off as weak or disruptive in certain aspects. And I have a lot of people who said they're not willing to go to that because it could dishonor their family or they shame them, but they know that they're struggling or challenging, or they don't know how to communicate some of those things. So it's really just sad and honestly unfortunate for me to hear that they feel like they can't experience something that could stimulate them or something that could help them in a lot of different ways. And for those people who do give it an opportunity, there's a lot of people that I know that try it and never tell anybody about it either, because they believe it has such a weak component to it, which is why I'm trying to shed so much light on the positive transformations of like what therapy and or counseling can do, because when I tried it and did it twice, it really did wonders for me in so many different areas, right? Like I wasn't able to fly after I completed my therapy sessions, but I was able to learn so much about like my upbringing and who I am as a person and what made Chris as a person based off of the conscious and subconscious experiences that I undergo during my time, and how like that impacted like my family, how that impacted my friends, my relationships, my energy, and the type of people who like I'm around and want to be around, and the type of people that are attracted to me based off of like my current mindset. So that's what I try to like shed light to as time goes on and stuff like that.
I want to speak to the portion of the confidentiality piece.
Okay.
Please know that our confidentiality is second to a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like literally. Which
is really big.
Really big. No one has to know. So if you need to come to someone like me, that's reasons that you're not a part of the family, you don't know anybody I know, I can come and be authentic here. Yeah. Because I can't always be the full me in the other areas. And so it sheds that. It creates that space. So I definitely encourage the ones who feel like they are interested in it, but their family or friends wouldn't understand. Some things aren't for everybody. Right. Come on in and still deal with those areas and get that help. No one has to know if you did it through self-help or not. Right. But we're trying to make wellness available, be it self-help or therapeutic. And sometimes it's a feel of, then will I need this forever, or am I broken, or is something wrong with me? And at the root of that is some self-awareness and self-acceptance of knowing that we're human, that's what we are. Right. We're navigating through this. Yeah. And there are gonna be some things that we're strong at and things that we need to continue to grow and improve on. And this provides a pathway.
Wow. I just need a second to like process everything too, because there's just so many gems and tools and resources that you're providing from such a intellectual standpoint and perspective that is really just making me so excited to like hear these things. And I really just hope and pray that so many people also have the opportunity and the curiosity to listen to this specific podcast as well, and to like grasp and obtain some of these gems that they're curious to know about, because I just have so many different conversations with so many different people who just might not have, like how you said, that representation for them. And I guess my question to that is, this is more so on a financial piece / component, but like for me, thankfully, I'm blessed and appreciative that with my job, I have the opportunity to receive paid for therapy sessions by licensed counselors or therapists. But for those individuals who might not have the same luxury or opportunity, do you have any advice, opportunity, tips, or tricks of just like how to receive some level of support, maybe in the same way if they don't necessarily have insurance to pay a copay, or if they don't necessarily have a job that funds their therapy opportunities, like what other options are available or could be available, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so for those who don't have insurance or cannot afford self-pay, there are community-based resources. Every county has a community resource for every county that provides health, dental, and mental health and wellness. Wow. And you can get services from there at a sliding scale or income-based, or free if you don't have any income. And everyone who does have a job but maybe haven't met their deductible to pay for that insurance, most jobs have a requirement for employee assistance programs, EAP. And I'm on several of those EAP panels, and what it allows is for you as an employee, confidentiality is always key. Please remember this, but you as an employee can go on your business, on your jobs webpage, or go to HR and say, I'd like the number to our EAP program. You make a call, and they'll ask you, do you want face-to-face or video? Do you want to talk to somebody right now? Or do you want to schedule someone? Do you schedule someone near where you live? What time of day? And usually they'll give anywhere from 3 to 10 free sessions.
Yeah, wow.
3 to 10. But it's per concern. So it could be my right pinky, my left pinky, my right pinky.
Knowing how to like navigate
Yeah. Now, and if it's something like, I'm on those panels, but if it's something that I do feel is beyond the scope of a short-term situation, that is where we say, okay, this is a little bit more long-term.
Yeah.
Your job is not going to continue to fund these. You need to get therapy another type of way.
Right.
So again, no job or no insurance and no money to pay for self-pay. Those community services also get free. There are a lot of organizations out there, especially for people of color. There's an organization that gives 4 free therapy sessions, and you get to pick the therapist.
Wow.
And they'll give an invoice, and if that therapist agrees, they'll be able to just fill out that paperwork, and they pay for you. The other thing is, everybody thinks that the crisis hotlines are only for suicide.
Okay.
They're not.
Right.
They're not a place for long-term therapy. They're not a replacement for that. But in the thick of it, when you need to talk to someone, and you know you're not suicidal, but you still need to talk to someone, you can also call those crisis lines.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's an amazing tip. I didn't know that, because I do think that the connotation behind those crisis lines are the most complex situations, and where people feel like they might be like they're at their wits' end, and life-threatening is the word that I was looking for. But it's good to know that obviously it's not a replacement or a substitution of, but if you need someone to have those conversations, like, that's available as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And don't overlook self-help things. Like, there's a lot of self-help and mental health and wellness modules out there that you can get a module or a course on to help with anxiety or depression, or another cheaper version of, because self-help is totally independent directed, and if I'm not motivated to do it, I'm not going to be motivated to read or do what they're saying in the self-help books and modules. But another way to get therapy is in a group format. It's usually a lot cheaper. Okay. And so, like, when I do groups, I can do a topic group or a focus group, right? And so a topic group would be, it's all about grief, or the focus could be just essentials or enhancing coping skills. So with that enhancing coping skills, yes, I'm teaching coping skills, but we're using who's ever in the group's concern and working through those things. But it provides an avenue. And I want to say the thing about groups, it's a group setting, and depending on how people feel, usually groups aren't very large. I think depending on the group, the max a group really needs to be is no more than 12 people. Okay. So you can enjoy and engage in the group. But when you're there, there's not a mandate that everybody always speaks. Okay. Sometimes group is an introduction into therapy. Okay. That's a little less threatening. Okay. Because I can come in and I can listen to you and listen to the facilitator and others and process my stuff, but I may not be comfortable to share right now. Right. But I still came and got something. And surprisingly, in a group that one that's silent, the others don't feel like it's unfair that they're silent.
Yeah.
It's more so an understanding that I've been silent and had to just listen also in one season or another.
So it can be a level of understanding too in that phase and just like navigating that journey as well. And I'm actually so glad that you brought up group therapy because I've never done group therapy. I've always done like one-on-one therapy, but I think that group therapy is also another avenue and strength. So the fact that you're like talking about it, even my level of like quietness is just my ability to understand and like grow my brain and acknowledgement as well about some of these different like experiences. I guess like my follow-up question to that is like twofold. Do you notice any challenges for people who undergo individual therapy or group therapy, right? Like I know it's very transformative, and in my personal opinion, I believe it's very positive in a lot of different areas and perspectives for your overall life. But do you think that there's any challenges of going to therapy 101 or group therapy that people don't necessarily, speak on as much?
Yes, and so professionally speaking, it's all about disclaimers. Even in my intake packet, there's a sentence that says therapy is good for you, but it doesn't always feel good. It's a little, you have to be ready. And that's one of the things about therapy. I have mandated clients, which are a whole different type of client to work with because they don't want to be there. They're forced to be there. Therapy is a relationship. You have to want it. And even with that, I have clients that would still come back, but they would say, every time I come, I'm crying. And they're frustrated because we're working.
Right.
And they don't like it, but they love it. It doesn't feel good to them.
Yeah.
But they are in a space where they're welcoming the shift and they're wanting that challenge.
Because I feel like you have to go through something to get something. You have to do something different than you've been doing to experience something that you've never had at the same time too. And I didn't even think about mandated clients for people who might be required to go for a certain period of time and finding the best or optimal way to get through to somebody who might not necessarily have lunged at the opportunity in the first place.
Right. And so it's the delicate dance of planting seeds. And I strongly believe that there's a benefit in exposure and the planting of the seed, even to that resistant mind. However, the resistant mind is not going to absorb that much because part of the energy is resisting. Right? But I like to liken it into every time someone interacts with me, they may be coming in for mandated or personal or work, but it's a think tank. It's a sparring partner. It's someone I can walk alongside you. It's someone that can present a different perspective on some things. And I'm someone that can challenge you.
Yeah. Okay. No, I love that. I love that a lot. And then I guess my next question to you, kind of like extending from that standpoint, is what are your thoughts on having a therapist or a counselor that might share some of those physical demographics? Because I know when I first looked up a counselor or a therapist, they also give you the opportunity to find somebody who might be a male or a female or somebody of a specific race or ethnicity or age group. Or like, I know that there's some therapists who have specialties in certain like areas. So like, what are your thoughts on, you're good, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
I think it's a benefit.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I will say this.
Okay.
When you're in need, when you are in need and you have someone that is willing to help and be a listening ear, take that person. With that being said, there is sometimes the benefit of knowing certain demographics, knowing if I'm a woman, knowing that I'm a female, black female therapist, knowing even my skill set, knowing that degree. I think that's important because some things can just be an extra layer of a barrier.
Okay.
Like I've experienced that, like even looking for my own therapist, I am a therapist. Like I when in my doctoral program, my favorite professor made it be known that you as a therapist, it's a mandate that we also seek mental health and wellness on a consistent basis.
Wow.
Because we're working with the mind.
Right.
So we need to make sure our mind is being balanced.
Which
and
makes so much sense,
And so even in my journey, I still want someone that I don't have to deal with a lot of the unnecessary things to get the service that I need. So I've had clients, I have a variety of clients, and I really love that I have a cross-sectional culture of clients.
Yeah.
And I remember having this male client that picked me, and they decided that they chose me for one reason and then discovered the reality. But they were a black male, but they went by my name, and they thought that I was a white female. And they intentionally chose a white female because there was a concern that a black female therapist or a black male therapist would hold a judgment.
Wow.
And that was an eye-opening experience for me because I've never experienced that way. On the reverse, I don't want a person of color because there are not that many
in the field.
And so the benefit of me listing that, you know, those demographics, I am a female, I am a person of color, can help with client feeling comfortable. Because I also got clients just on Friday that decided to reach out to me because they did have a therapist but of a different culture, and they began looking again because they felt that there was a disconnect. Like some things you don't necessarily have to say when you're of the same culture or you're culturally aware.
Right.
But this person wasn't culturally aware.
Right.
Now again, I see clients I have African background clients, I have Caucasian Americans, I have Asian clients, I have male and female across the board. But there is some way that I'm still able to relate to all of them.
Through the journey.
That's why I say if you're in need, get anybody, because if they're skilled and they love what they do, they'll be of service to you. However, it's a difference. And I like the idea that that is something made known. And why? If you can look in a directory or through referral, or you can research me through social media and find those type of criteria, it eliminates half of your journey. You can narrow down to what you're wanting. Right? And then with the beauty of that, you will probably continue in the pursuit of getting a therapist, because your first therapist may not be a good fit.
Right.
And that is okay. Do not run from therapy just because I may have said something that was challenging, but also understand that we're here to provide a service. You are my boss.
Right.
I am a permanent tool in the toolbox.
Right.
But you are to use this tool as needed. And so if I'm not a tool that works well for you, then it is my responsibility as a therapist to step down and assist you in finding a better fit.
Right.
Because you may not know a better fit for you, but I can probably assess, you need this approach to therapy, or you need that approach to therapy. And if so, I would share some other types of therapists or
Resources,
therapies
yeah.
that would be able to benefit.
Wow, that's really good. That's really amazing. And I actually love that too, because it makes me feel like it's less about me being your therapist and more about you getting the support and the assistance and the service that you came for in the first place, right? And like how that person might think like, oh, I can potentially get that or knock off a lot of these blockades or challenges by finding a person of this specific area, but that might not necessarily be the case in all situations either. So I think that you saying that and like just having that mindset of if an opportunity does arise where it might not be as compatible or best fit, finding that person too. And it's interesting as well, just like hearing you talk and say that as well, because I've had two different therapists and like one was a Black woman and then another was a white woman as well. And I loved both of my therapists and they both provided very different perspectives. But I think a lot of the questions that start to flare up and come into mind as soon as I mention like a white therapist as well is just like that cultural connection of different opportunities and scenarios. And the reason why I'm so open to talking about it like now in general in terms of having somebody of that racial or ethnic background as well is because there were some things that I felt like it was optimal for her to know. And I think even me explaining some of those things gave me the opportunity to realize a lot more about the situation and scenario. And then her having a completely different mindset and completely different thought pattern also challenged my mindset. It also challenged my mindset in so many different ways because I think at first, and I think it's very reasonable and understandable too, right, to find somebody of that same background, but I think to go and operate in a completely different area or pool or field of somebody who might not know anything about it is going to produce different thought patterns as well, which is what I was curious about because initially I was like, you know what, I want to stay in my field, in my sphere, somebody who knows exactly what I'm talking about, which is not bad, but me going out and venturing out also allowed me to discover so many different gems about my scenario and situation.
And that's what I love about being free to go outside of the box. What is this box everybody wants to put everybody in? I'm going for the knowledge of the one that can help me. And I really enjoy engaging with people that I may sum up as because you're of that culture, you may not get me, but those are hidden gem conversations where because of that, it's a different perspective.
Thank you. I know it keeps me.
That's okay. Yeah, but those different perspectives, and that is what makes us well-rounded. That is the part of that skill of self-awareness. Yeah. Because as you said, having those conversations with that particular person and that challenging those concepts maybe addressed hidden limiting beliefs that may have been there. Which is, again, you can't go wrong with just having a conversation. Right. And we get free consultations. Right. So it's free consultation. Not a full therapy session, right? Because there's some legalities involved in how much you share. But I basically give a free consultation. That's a 30-minute session. Right? Because you got to know, you want to know, do I know what I'm talking about? Right. And can I be of service before you share all of that? Information. Because it's a great disappointment if the person you think can help you can't help you. Right? And so that's where consultations come in. Yeah. Come, talk, ask me questions.
That makes so much sense. That literally makes so much sense of the reason and the logic behind consultations. Wow. Okay. And my last question for you is, I know, right, when conversations are so great. My last conversation for you is, honestly, could you just like share some light, share some perspective as to the importance of therapy, the importance of counseling, the importance of being open to like new opportunities and exposures and like what you genuinely want them to take away from this episode, our clip, and just our conversation together.
Okay. Ultimately, what I want you guys to walk away with is knowing that mental wellness prevents mental illness. We're human. We're going to experience things. We're not going to always come out on top. And we need to learn to navigate when we're in the thick of it. And no one can do anything alone. And with you exploring the opportunity of mental wellness, you get to discover stuff about yourself that you were hidden to. You get to expose those limiting thoughts, those limiting beliefs. You get to challenge yourself to grow. You really do get to have paradigm shifts, see things differently, and those things begin to allow you to show up differently. And so whatever avenue of life and whatever you're wanting out of life, you're able to achieve and receive those things and really enjoy the best of life. And that's why I think therapy is so transformative. It's really just a conversation with someone with some knowledge and skill that can provide service to assist. And yes, to educate or re-educate. But it's just an opportunity to know you better. It's not us acting as if we know everything. It's all about you. It is really all about you. And if you've never heard it from anyone, I'm the first to say, use me up. As a therapist, you should not leave empty-handed. You should gain, receive something from our interaction. And why? Because that's my goal. I love mental wellness. I think it's critical to our experiencing a full and enjoyable life. We can go through life every day and just be overwhelmed and exhausted by it. Or we can just have a paradigm shift and live. We can live navigating through the hard times, but still excited to go forward. And that is what I think therapy brings to the table. Notwithstanding to any other friend or family member, it's also just an extra tool in the toolbox.
Wow. I love that so much, and I am so grateful and thankful and appreciative of and for you, Dr. Pittman, for really just sharing some light to my audience, my viewers, and taking time out of your day really to come and share knowledge with and for people who can use it as tools in the toolbox to prepare their lives and just live overall and collectively. I usually give a piece of advice and tidbit at the very, very end, but I feel so shy and just in awe in the moment, because I really do and genuinely believe like these tools and knowledge and tips and advice and points that you have given are like not only from a official and licensed standpoint, but also just like unofficially as well, just seems so optimal and so aligned with a lot of the things that I even learned throughout my times and experiences in therapy as well. So I'm just in awe and shocked and very thankful for you coming today and sharing some light and knowledge. And I'm really, really excited to have this published to the world and on the market as well. So there will be information and resources like this available for people when they're ready and when they need to as well. Yeah. So again, thank you so much for coming to another episode of Peace of Mind, where we value our health, our body, and our time. And that concludes today's episode. Peace out.
This is the peace that you cannot buy. Finding a way when you cannot see. Man with this system, he cannot pray. I need to find relief.